Midweek update time, and we are making a few strategic reversals from yesterday based on fresh projections, matchup context, and the news cycle. Quarterback first, we are pivoting our core back to Drake May at 6,800 against the Jets, who have one of the worst defenses overall with an opponent rank of 28. Here is why we are changing course from yesterday's Burrow stance. May carries a dash rank of 100 with a 22-point projection and 21 fantasy points per game, and he has posted 29, 22, and 19 over his last three, which gives us a stronger recent median than Burrow at a similar salary. Public and media signals are bullish as well, with MVP chatter including May alongside Josh Allen and Matthew Stafford, and Pro Bowl fan voting placing him right behind Allen, while the Essentially Sports piece on the controversial no-call versus the Ravens underscores the chip on his shoulder going into a softer, overall matchup. Ownership is projected around 18.3%, which is manageable for tournaments given the ceiling and the opponent profile. Our value quarterback pool shifts from Cameron Ward back to Geno Smith at 4,400 versus the Giants, who have one of the worst defenses overall with an opponent rank of 29. This is a leverage salary play, only dash rank 100, a 16-point projection, 13 fantasy points per game, and recent outputs of 15, 0, and 9 fit the volatile profile we reserve for large field builds. Ownership sits near 1.3%, and the news run has been noisy, from Antonio Pierce and Geno taking accountability after losses to Pete Carroll, publicly backing him amid future uncertainty, which tends to depress the field even with a soft overall matchup. Running back, we are moving our core from Chase Brown to Ashton Jeanty at 6,100 against the Giants, who have one of the worst defenses overall with an opponent rank of 29. The Y is workload plus matchup plus trajectory. Janty brings a dash rank of 100 with an 18-point projection and 15 fantasy points per game, and he is coming off 35, with earlier duds of 8 and 6 that help keep his salary in check. Touch count is encouraging, with 19 carries in the recent Broncos game per reporting, and the post-Chip Kelly pivot in Vegas has Genty himself saying, "Run the ball, play action. It is really going to be all the stuff we have been doing," which aligns with the Sportsline model, highlighting him among top. Anytime TD picks, projected ownership around 25.8%, is healthy but not prohibitive in this price tier, given the opponent and red zone role. Our value running back remains Sean Tucker at 4,200 versus the Dolphins, who have one of the worst defenses overall with an opponent rank of 21. Projection is 4 with 6 fantasy points per game, and he has delivered 6, 7, and 9 lately. We are keeping this as a punt because the role can spike in the right game script, and fantasy coverage has already flagged his volatility with big outlier weeks, which is exactly the profile we want at this salary for tournament builds. Wide receiver, we are adding Chris Olave back into our primary pool at 7,200 against the Titans, who have one of the worst defenses overall with an opponent rank of 27. This is a change from yesterday when we leaned away. Olave carries a dash rank of 100 with a 17-point projection and 17 fantasy points per game, and the recent line of 40, 21, and 6 captures elite ceiling ownership, is projected around 3.7%, making him a premium low-owned pivot in a soft overall matchup. And the news pulse around the Saints receiver room has been lively, from deadline rumors to Rashid Shaheed's trade and Olave's public message about it, which often precedes consolidated targets in the short term. We are keeping Brian Thomas Jr. in the pool, now as our preferred mid-tier flex at 5,200 against the Colts, who have one of the worst defenses overall with an opponent rank of 22. No change in conviction here from yesterday, just a positional shuffle to fit Olave up top. Dash rank 100 with a 12-point projection and 10 fantasy points per game, and a recent run of 4, 17, and 12. That shows path to ceiling at this salary. The Jaguars' receiver room has earned positive grades, with PFF ranking them inside the top 16 heading into 2025, and reports labeling Thomas an emerging star, while deadline chatter around his availability reinforces that teams view his upside the same way we do. We expect him to come in under the radar relative to his role and matchup. As a value receiver, Jerry Jeudy at 4,000 versus the Steelers, who have one of the worst defenses overall with an opponent rank of 25, is a salary saver. Projection is 8 with 7 fantasy points per game, and he has gone 4, 4, and 17 over his last 3 ownership projects around 0.4%, and Brown's coverage has been focused on Shedeur Sanders' early starts and even a sideline flare-up with Jeudy, which can actually funnel short-term targets and gives us leverage if the game script tilts pass heavy. Tight end is our biggest upgrade today, moving from the mid-tier yesterday to Trey McBride at 7,500 versus the Bengals, who have one of the worst defenses overall with an opponent rank of 31, rank 100, a 19-point projection, and 19 fantasy points per game, with recent outputs of 7, 40, and 11 set the ceiling case ownership around 17. 9% is fine for a premium tight end whose breakout has been covered all season, including pieces on him leading the position in receptions and yards. A shot at the record books this week, and even the fine that had fans upset, all of which reflect how central he is to the Cardinals' offense. If you need a true punt at tight end, Elijah Higgins at 2,500 in the same soft overall matchup versus Cincinnati is viable for large fields. Rank 35 with a 4-point projection and recent outputs of 16, 1, and 1 fit the boom-bust profile we target at MIN salary, and he correlates with game environments where Arizona throws more flex spot. We already covered Brian Thomas Jr. as our favorite salary-efficient upside play, and we are keeping him in the flex to maintain roster flexibility. If you need a stone minimum dart, Shedrick Jackson at 3,000 versus the Giants, who have one of the worst defenses overall with an opponent rank of 29, is a thin but usable pivot with a recent 10-point spike 2 games ago to demonstrate path to value. Defense. We are reversing yesterday's move and going back to the Patriots at 3,900 versus the Jets, who have one of the worst defenses overall with an opponent rank of 29 projection, sits at 8 with recent defensive scores of 5, -2, and 9. And this matchup sets up for short fields and mistake opportunities against a struggling offense, while projected ownership around 11.6% keeps them in play across formats. For value defense, the Cardinals at 2,300 versus the Bengals, who have one of the worst defenses overall with an opponent rank of 27, remain a serviceable punt with recent defensive scores of 5, -1, and -4, and ownership around 1.3%. Which is exactly the kind of low-owned salary relief that lets us get up to McBride and Olave quick recap of what changed and why we moved core quarterback exposure back to Drake May, because his projection, recent form, and opponent rank all beat yesterday's median case, and the news cycle around MVP chatter and Pro Bowl voting supports sustained volume. We shifted the value quarterback back to Geno Smith as a pure large field salary lever in a soft overall matchup with very low ownership. We replaced Chase Brown with Ashton Jeanty as our lead running back to exploit the Giants matchup, and a run-heavy course correction in Vegas, validated by both usage notes and model-backed anytime. TD Buzz. We reintroduced Chris Olave as our premium receiver at low ownership, while keeping Brian Thomas Jr. in the flex for the same salary-efficient ceiling we liked yesterday. We upgraded tight end to Trey McBride for elite role and ceiling in a soft overall matchup with Elijah Higgins as a punt only. We brought the Patriots' defense back to capitalize on a friendly opponent rank and recent takeaway potential. Drop your favorite low-owned play in the comments, and we will finalize cores as inactives come into focus.